Hello, everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. I'm really excited to have Alison Francis here with me. She's known as a sleep guru, and she's going to talk to me about all things sleep. You know how it's important when you can't sleep and everything that goes to your mind, especially waking up in the middle of the morning, middle of the night at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you just really want to go back to bed and you just find it difficult. She's going to talk to me about all those sleeping challenges we face and how we could get through it. She's been doing this for many, many years, and she's now an expert in her field. Welcome, Alison. Welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. We've got amazing Alison, this experts here, sleep guru. Everyone, you know what I mean when you can't sleep in the middle of the night and you're just wondering what next to do. Alison, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. I'm very busy actually at the moment with obviously in this time of desperation, there's a lot of people that have got a lot of anxiety. So
Yeah, no, I imagine so because but anyway, before I go into all of that, I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because I think from there, I really have so much questions about sleeping. You are an expert on all things sleep, and I can't wait to really dive into that. Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, basically, I do what I do because I personally had a really serious issue with chronic insomnia when I was about 27. And it went on for probably about 10, 12 or so years. Very, very bad insomnia, like 2 hours, no hours, 1 hour. And it just went on and on and on. And I became actually quite ill. I had terrible digestive issues, nearly had a nervous breakdown, and it affected my business because I was trying to run a business at the same time. And of course, I was just foggy headed, I couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate, resulted in all sorts of relationship issues, divorce, and all of that. So I really understand what it feels like, when you don't sleep. People say, oh, I had a terrible night's sleep for a few days. And well, you've got no idea what it's like not to sleep for months, weeks, months, years actually, and it goes on and on and on. So it's very serious, and it's really disturbing emotionally, physically, everything. I do what I do because I really understand, and I think it's important. If you're dealing with some sleep issues, then I think it's important to understand what it feels like. I basically then was trying lots of things out. So my mother gave me one of her sleeping pills, and I tried it once. I thought, that is not for me. I felt worse the next day. Excuse me. I felt like I'd had no sleep at all. And of course, what sleep medication does, it basically knocks you out. It sort of anesthetizes you, but it suppresses your REM sleep. And what happens is that I've discovered it with clients that they are put on sleep medication, and the next stage on that is antidepressants, because they're not getting the good REM sleep, so the brain isn't getting the quality cleansing and all that. And eventually it always seems to turn into depression, even if they're getting some sleep by having sleep medication. I really understand that sometimes you just need some respite. You need, if you're awake 24 hours, or you think you're awake 24 hours, you might be drifting off for an hour here or an hour there, but you wake up feeling awful. That's just one day. But if you fast forward that a few weeks, a few months, you're just desperate and you do anything just to actually close your eyes and just get knocked out. So I do get it. And there are times when it is necessary. There are times. But my goal really is to tell people and show people that with patience and balance, 90% of the time you can manage a sleep issue. So I basically went to, when I was sort of in my desperation, I was doing some yoga, but I wasn't doing the kind of yoga that I felt that I really deeply connected to. It didn't really have any spiritual element. It didn't really have much of a breath element. So I decided to just jump ship and go to India and live in an ashram for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And that's how I met my guru. And some people know me as Anandi. Anandi is my spiritual name, and that was given to me by my guru, and it means in bliss. So sometimes, you know, people will have heard of me Anandi. So if you go Anandi the sleep guru, a lot of stuff might come up. But my birth name is Alison.
Yeah.
And I discovered the breath, and that changed absolutely everything for me. And I was experimenting a lot with the breath, which is why I ended up writing a book about it, because there's so many gifts in the breath. You can change the state of your nervous system in one deep breath. And the breath affects every single system of your body, what comes into your body, how you digest your stuff, how you eliminate, how your circulation is, how creative you are in the world, and how your circulatory system works. It affects absolutely everything. And the beauty of it is it's free to everyone on the planet. You don't have to have a gym membership. You just have to plug in and learn how to use it. And it's just an amazing tool. So with the breath, with Ayurvedic lifestyle and all that, I basically realized that there's a bit of a process to it. It's never just one thing. And a lot of people kind of say, well, I tried this and I've tried that didn't work and this didn't work. But when you try one thing in isolation, it often actually doesn't work. Okay. But if you try things in a combination, in a process, then it starts to work. And that's basically how I came up with Sleepology. That's a really, really condensed version. You've got questions.
Really, I've got tons of questions.
I try not to rabble on for too long, but anyway,
that's literally
condensed version. That's the
that was version. Good, because that brings me on to lots of different questions which I haven't even thought about. Like one of the key things that a lot of people talk about insomnia, but some people don't really understand. When do you realize you have it, and what is insomnia?
Well, insomnia, there's lots of different levels of insomnia. There's acute insomnia where you might just have a few nights of bad night's sleep. There's chronic insomnia. There's insomnia where you have trouble falling asleep. There's insomnia where you actually go to sleep, but you wake up at 1 or 2 in the morning and are able to go back and unable to go back to sleep. And there's different reasons for those things. So if you've had a disturbed night's sleep for 1 or 2 nights and you get back, then you haven't really got insomnia. You know, you've just had a few disturbed nights for something. There's always a reason. Your body is going, hello, I just need to tell you something, but you're not listening, so I'm going to keep you awake all night, and then you might listen to me, right? So that's sometimes what happens.
Yeah. Oh, so and when you had yours, how did you know that this is something that is just not going away? Because I think that sometimes we all work so hard and we go through these very bad stages in our life, and then we just can't sleep. But how do you know that this is time I should now take this a bit serious and start looking at ways to improve my sleeping patterns?
Well, I think that if it goes on for longer than a month, very, very disturbed sleep, then you need to really seek some help. It can be something, I mean, if it's all emotional issues, emotional relationship issues, worry, that sort of thing, if you can identify that it's probably that's creating the sleep issue, then obviously that's the thing that you need to address. There is no pill, there's nothing really that will sort that out until you sort that emotional issue out. So having, you know, whether you need some counselling or you need talking or you need to just do something to help calm your nervous system because you've got very frazzled. And also people don't realise it, but you need energy in order to be able to go to sleep. And people say to me, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, why can't I sleep? Therein lies the problem. You actually need energy because your body is incredibly busy. It's not just a case that you pass out when you go to sleep. Your brain and body are really busy, and you need energy to do all the things that your body needs to do while you're sleeping. And if you don't have the energy, you don't have the resources, then you'll often get woken up because you're just so exhausted and frazzled. So,
you know, in your introduction, I know you did talk about what led you to this path, because it was an introduction. You know, yeah. I have a chronic illness, and mine is to do with pain. And how did you know that through your chronic illness of lack of sleep, that you wanted to go on this path to really go out there and really help people?
Yeah, we broke up a little bit there. Can you just repeat that question? You froze a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I have a chronic illness, and my chronic illness is pain. And I've used that path to really help other people who are going through that issues of pain as well. How did you decide that this is the path I wanted to go through? I wanted to go through this path because I better understand it and I want to help people. How did you know that this is now the path you wanted to go through?
I think that because it's so absolutely horrendous, and I think you'll probably understand this because that's what you're doing too, but because it's absolutely horribly horrendous not sleeping and the impact it has on your life. And I felt that because I'd experienced it and I'd come through it and I understand what it takes to resolve an issue, I felt that I can't really not come out into the world and go, I want to give you help because I know how it feels. And I know that many people, they stab around in the dark, and I did too, trying a bit of this and a bit of that, nothing's working, because you get incredibly desperate. And I felt that because I've had the experience and I feel that I had some really amazing insights, that I needed to share that with the world, basically. And that's my, in Indian philosophy, they call it your dharma, or also Buddhist dharma, which is your purpose in life. And I feel that that's my purpose. Yes. I need to share that information because there's 10 million sleep prescription or NHS prescriptions for sleep medication going out every single year. That's a lot. That's a huge amount of prescriptions. And I think there's many of those prescriptions that could be avoided because, the medical industry is incredible. I've had first-hand experience of how amazing it is when they can put someone back together when someone has a bad accident. Amazing, incredible. But I think that when there's so many people queuing up and trying to have a 10-minute appointment, I would imagine it's very difficult. So to help someone, they've just got to give them something. But I think that before you go down that path, I feel that I've got a lot to offer people in the terms of advice, so that you don't because once you get hooked on that stuff, very difficult to get off. It's very difficult. It's quite a big process weaning yourself off because you have a psychological attachment to it. So,
I agree, because I used to use sleeping pills whenever I travel, especially long distance flights. And what you just said actually really rang a bell to me, because every time I would take the sleeping pills, I would actually fall asleep. But the next day I would be so tired and I just can't figure out. I'm like, but I slept in the plane and I slept the whole 9-10 hours. Why am I so tired? Could you just give a quick snapshot on why that tends to happen to people when you take sleeping pills and still feel very tired, even after you've taken it to relax?
Well, the sleeping pill is an anesthetic. It's not real sleep. So you're not actually really sleeping. You're just anesthetized. You're not getting the REM sleep. You absolutely need deep sleep and REM sleep. If you don't get either of those, and also you need the light sleep, you need the non-REM light sleep, non-REM deep sleep, and REM sleep. And if you're not getting the REM sleep because the sleeping medication suppresses the REM sleep, your brain is processing, your brain is sorting out memories, your brain is flushing. When you sleep, your brain actually has a system, it's called lymphatics. It's a bit like the lymphatic system in the body, where you have this liquid and it drains away. Excuse me. So that's the same thing in the brain. You have like a liquid that like cleanses the brain, and it takes away, excuse me, it takes away something called beta amyloid, which is like a protein buildup. And if that doesn't happen over time, that is intimately connected to Alzheimer's disease. You need to have REM sleep. We all need REM sleep. We need all the sleep cycles, but sleep medication does suppress. So when you wake up in the morning, your brain will feel like you've not even had a sleep because you're just groggy. You haven't had the sleep cycles. You know, you have to go through the cycles. It's like you cycle through about 5 cycles, you know, in a normal healthy person a night. You need to. But if you're on sleep medication, then you're not doing that normal thing. Your body's disrupted. Everything is disrupted. Therefore, because that's disrupted, then all the physiological things are disrupted. And if that goes on, you know, you're just exhausted all the time and feeling terrible all the time, which is why it leads to depression a lot of the time, because you're just feeling so awful.
Wow.
So if you can avoid it, then so much better to try something else properly first, not stab about in the dark, you know, with this and that.
I try to make myself absolutely very tired before I go on. Then when I get on the flight, then I'm really tired and I just sleep, natural sleeps.
Yeah.
What's a typical routine for you? What's a typical, if like you're going to bed now, what's the perfect way to get a good night's sleep?
Well, my personal routine is most of the time I'm in bed by 9:30.
Okay.
9:30. I try to eat by 6:30 p.m. and I eat a light dinner. I try to eat my main meal, bulk of my main calories at lunchtime, because I'm a very, very sensitive sleeper, because there's different sleep types. There's different constitutional types. And I'm one that is predisposed to insomnia. So I've discovered that. So I have to work really hard at keeping myself grounded. So I'm in bed by 9:30, 10 at the latest, and I'm up at 5:30, and I have a glass of water and I sit straight down on my yoga mat and I sit for 40 minutes. So I sit for meditation for 40 minutes. Then I do my posture practice. Then I'll do my pranayama, my breath practice, and then I'll do some shavasana. I have this amazing mat. It's full of amethyst crystals and it has this infrared heat. So I lay on that at the end of my practice for about 20 minutes. So my practice is about 2 hours. And then, so 7:30, then I'll have tea at 7:30 and I'll take the dog out. But that's the way I set myself up for the day. It's like stepping over the threshold of my day from a space of calm. So my body feels fluid. So I've opened all the energy channels. I've got some more oxygen in my brain. I'm coming from a quiet place into my day. And that sets me up for the day. And then in the evening, I don't look at my computer after about 8:30 maximum. Because if I'm looking at emails at 9 p.m, it's quite likely that I won't sleep very well, because I'm very susceptible. I know I'm very delicate. And so I think it's about knowing oneself. It doesn't mean that everyone's got to have that routine, because everyone is different. And that's the beauty of the process that I do, because we find out what someone's type is. I'm not saying that everyone has got to have that routine. Other people might not need that routine, but I do. So that's my routine. Usually I do go out sometimes. I'm not boring, Saturday night I might go out. Sundays I don't practice, so Sundays I have a day off. So yes, I do drink a glass of wine now and then, of course I do. I'm not, I work on the 85% rule, 85%, 15% rule. So 85% of the time I have this really good ritual rhythms. And then 15% of the time, I might go off the rails a little bit. But I know if I go too far off, then it's going to ruin my sleep. So
what led you to go to India to, you got the name, I can't even say that name.
Anandi.
Yeah, so you got that name. What led you to go to India to go discover this path?
Well, I was not having a great time, and I was very interested in the spiritual side of yoga. I wasn't sleeping very well, and I just thought, I'm just going to down tools and just go. I just went, and I actually went on the internet and I had a look around, and I just sort of almost did a bit of one of those finger things and just went, I'm going to go there, and I just did, and it transformed my life. Really did. Really
I can't believe what.
did.
Yeah.
I've been going ever since. Most years, I haven't been for a few years now. I've had things going on, but most years I would go every year, plug in. I've got children that I sponsor in India. I've got things going on that I do in India. So I have a real, I feel I must have been doing some sadhana, practice there in some other life.
Yeah.
So I have a deep connection to India.
Alison, one of the things that's happened with the world is everything with Corona. People have lost jobs. People are so stressed out. There's anxiety. There's depression. People's sleep routine has absolutely changed. In light of everything going on, what would be your number one thing you would tell someone who's going through that? As we know you as a sleep guru, what would you tell someone who's going through that difficult time right now and still finding it difficult to sleep? What would you
I think when there's rhythms and rituals, it's very important to have a rhythm and not get tempted to, because when people have been in lockdown, their whole rhythm has been upset. They're doing a completely different way of living and working. I think it's very important to, even if you're at home or working or furloughed or whatever it is, even if you're not working, have rhythm and rituals, because every single cell in your body has a biological clock, a circadian rhythm. And your body likes to do certain things at certain times of day. It's important, therefore, to let your body be in a rhythm, getting up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day, trying to eat at the same time every day, do your practice at the same time every day, exercise at the same time every day. Aerobic exercise, for example, running, cycling, doing all that. The research says the morning is the best time for that. So if you're going to do your running or whatever it is, try to do that in the morning. But rhythm and rituals is fundamental, because then your body knows what it's doing. Half the work is done for you. So if you're always, for example, I'm usually in bed, as I say, 9:30, 10 maximum, I'm ready for bed then. My body's going, yes, it's time. Because then the melatonin will get released, because the body knows it's like a clock, it's like clockwork. That's very, very important. It's very important to manage the eating times, because going to bed, some people say, well, they eat at 8:30 or 9 p.m. and it's just not helpful, because your body, it's almost like the cook's kind of gone home. The cook is gone home. Your body is actually going, hello, I'm actually supposed to be lowering my body temperature. I've just released melatonin, and now you have put food down there and you've messed it up, because now the body temperature's got to go back up. But your melatonin has just actually tried to lower the body temperature, but you've actually just chucked food in. Therefore, your body now wants to light the fire, has to light the fire again, because you've put food down in there to digest the food. So your body has to. So it's completely conflicting. It's running uphill against nature. And if you run uphill against nature, you can't expect to be well. Your body is in complete rhythm with nature. Bit like eating seasonally, that's very difficult, because you go into Waitrose and everything is available all the time. I'm just as guilty. I eat avocados all the year round, just as an example. But it's so much better for our systems to eat seasonally. For example, the microbiome changes in the autumn, and it's more adept at digesting gluten, for example, in the autumn. Not particularly all the year round. So eating seasonally, but certainly being kind to your digestion, because your health and well-being starts in your digestion. You have a microbiome in your gut, which also has a circadian rhythm. And if your microbiome, those bugs in your gut, are upset, you will be upset. It's a bit like, well, is it my house or their house? But anyway, if they're upset, you'll be upset. It's important to really look after your digestion. I can't stress that enough, because I've experienced that personally. Having had a lot of sleep issues in the past, it's really played havoc with my digestion. So that's an important thing. So rhythms and rituals, being kind to your digestion, obviously the blue light thing. I know I say obviously, But I know it's obvious, but people still don't take any notice to that. People are still on their phones, they're still on their iPads or whatever later, later into the evening. If you're watching stimulating movie, kind of thriller and things like that, if you've got a sleep issue, these are things that you need to look at. Some people it doesn't affect. Some people have digestion, like incredible digestion, and actually it can actually go the other way and start burning the stomach, and therefore people get ulcers with stress. They don't have a problem digesting food because it just goes straight through them. But what happens is there's too much fire, and therefore the acid starts burning away through their stomach lining, and they get ulcers and things like that. So, you've got to really respect your physical being and not run uphill against nature.
I agree. I totally agree. And also, one thing I find is that stress also leads to bad sleeping habit. When you're so stressed, it automatically goes to the guts. You just feel it there, and then that affects your sleeping. But honestly, my final question, because I don't want to keep you too long, I know how busy you are, is how important is it to get a good night's sleep at nighttime? How important would you say?
It's fundamental. Okay, so I would say obviously breathing, because obviously if you're not breathing, you're dead. Yeah. Water, sleep, and then food in that order. Because actually lack of sleep will kill you. I know it's not very nice, they've done research on rats and things, kept them awake and they die. And there's a rare disease, I can't remember what the name of it is, and people have died because they don't sleep, because your body physically cannot actually regenerate, it can't heal, the systems start breaking down. It's fundamental. If you want to live well, you need to sleep well. Fundamental.
Wow. And anyone who wants to know more about your work, how can they get in touch with you? Because this is an amazing subject, especially in a time like this. It's so difficult, and people are panicking, and that panicking is leading them not sleeping well. How do people get in touch with you if they need to get?
Well, they can just get in touch from my website, thesleepguru.co.uk. And there's a place there that you can just send a message. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Find me on LinkedIn. But the easiest place is my website. They can find me there.
Oh, thank you so much, Alison, for spending this afternoon with myself to tell me a little bit, telling us a little bit about sleep. I think it's so important that we understand sleep. I think we all just think if you go to bed, I think we know that you need energy to sleep as well. You just think, oh, just go to bed and just fall asleep. But it is really insightful, your messages. I'm so happy you spent this time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.